AK, Daniel, Jaeda, Kyle, Ryan, welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited that y'all could be here tonight. For people who aren't familiar with you and maybe your love for this coffee stuff, would you mind filling in a little bit about who you are and all the amazing stuff you got going on and maybe where this love for coffee or passion for coffee came from? AK, if you want to kick it off.
Oh boy. All right. Well, my name's Ashley, if you really want to know, but I go by AK. I don't think there's a person on this planet that doesn't know me that way. Um, I'm a strength coach, so coffee just needs to be like injected into most strength coaches' veins on the daily, and that's really where I got my start into it. And it wasn't good coffee. It was like my internship years and my fellowship years. They're like, "Go make the coffee," and I said, "Yes, I will." And so, you go make the coffee. And after a while, I was like, "This isn't good. I don't like this. This tastes like motor oil and like it's dark and it's nasty and I hate it. I don't like the way it tastes. I have to put all this creamer and all this sugar in it. Like this has got to be better, right?" And I slowly started just kind of diving in just over time. My first experience with like real craft coffee, we'll say, was like Beanbox, this little company. Somebody made got me a subscription and it was like coffee beans from all over the world. No, it's not. It was from like the West Coast. It was like literally Seattle. That was pretty much it. Whatever. But got into that, started understanding like the actual difference in the processes of coffee at first. Tried a bunch of different roasts, figured out light medium is about where I hit the line. City plus, I can't go any farther than that. It's crazy. Um, and then I started roasting myself. So that's been going on for about a year now. Just, I guess the last 6 years have just been slowly trying to understand it and educate myself and figuring out that this is something that I want to do. I've been doing it on the side, roasting on the side, taking cupping classes, like all kinds of the stuff. Down in New Orleans, we have a place called Current Crop, and they just offer all these opportunities for like pairing classes with pastries, cupping classes, brew methods classes. So diving in, understanding more about it because it's something I love, and it's just another source of community for me and a way to connect with people.
Hi guys, I'm Jaeda. I am based in New York and I graduated college about 2 years ago. My coffee journey, I guess, probably started in middle school. I mean, I've loved coffee my whole life. That was how I would connect with my grandparents. We would like go visit them and we would go to Starbucks and my grandfather would get coffee and he'd get us little hot chocolates. And so I grew up in a very coffee oriented family. When I was born, my gift that my dad got was his first like espresso machine that I now have, which is kind of crazy. So I've always been in kind of like a coffee family. And then fast forward to freshman year of college, I was actually going to school. I was studying like health science. I wanted to be a physical therapist, which plans have deviated a little bit since then. But I started off as that, and I started college during COVID, and so I was kind of locked in a dorm room. And my idea of how to connect with people was posting on social media. And so I started getting a different coffee drink every day from the Starbucks truck outside of my dorm, and I would post the drink and give it a little review, and then people would comment different drinks for me to try. So that's kind of how I got my start on social media, and that expanded to now. Fast forward to today, I do my own like influencing content creation stuff, and then I started a media agency about 2 years ago, working with different clients, doing like the business side and the strategy side, and um, the teaching side. I do different guest lectures at different places, and I've really really loved that and gotten to connect through that. There was a roastery at my school. I went to James Madison University, and so next to the school, there was this roastery that I did some social media stuff for, and stayed in contact with them. And then a couple months ago, I created this course teaching like social media fundamentals and partnered with JMU to offer the course through JMU. And we were able to market the course through the roastery. We have like little I'll have to grab it. I have a bag over there, but a bag of like coffee beans and it so it has like my social media stuff with the coffee roastery and we like marketed the course through that. So that was super cool. Um and yeah, I mean, I think I love the technical side of coffee, but I think where I'm at now is a little bit more social media focused, so I like making fun little drinks, and that's kinda, how I got started with that, and then kinda transitioned to making my own drinks at home and taking different suggestions, and so I think my stuff is a little bit more on, like, the fun, creative side, trying different coffee shops and cafes, but I do also enjoy black coffee, so could go either way.
So, how's it going, guys? My name is Ryan Murphy. I'm a physical therapist, originally from just south of Boston, Massachusetts. I now live in Miami, Florida. I already told you guys about my fanatic fandom for Miami Hurricanes. So, getting ready for that tomorrow with the Fiesta Bowl. But love of coffee. I have had a hell of a ride as it pertains to coffee. So, if you guys know New England, we are the Dunkin' Donuts capital of the world. It's where it's found in Canton, Massachusetts. Boom, drive right by it on the way to the Logan Airport, heading back to Florida. I started with my dad basically having an extra large hot coffee, extra, extra. And I didn't know what that meant as a kid. I just know that it was not very brown and it was very sweet. And over time, you realize that extra, extra is 6 creams, 6 sugars. And he was probably on the fast track to dying at that point in time. He stopped doing that pretty quickly. He went to extra, which is good. Good first step. Good first step. 'Cause that was my first experience with coffee, which is basically just like the super sugary, super creamy. Um, it was like, yeah, this makes you feel great. I don't know if it tastes that great. I kind of had the same experience as Ashley did too, where it was like, we could do better here. We could do better here. But I didn't really know what better was. So all I did was just start manipulating variables, right? A little less creamy here, maybe a different syrup here, maybe a little less sugar. So in high school, it got to, what was it? It was a medium mocha iced coffee, 2 creams, 2 sugars, which is still devastating compared to what I drink today. It's not good. Now we do a medium mocha iced 1 cream. We're all the way down to no extra sugar, just 1 creamer. But that being said, from there, we spiraled into a trip to Italy in undergrad where I walked up to a coffee shop and I said, I'll take an iced coffee. And they laughed at me and said, we don't do that here. And they poured me an espresso. And I was like, you guys don't have ice over here? I'm confused. It was the most American thing I could have done. A little on the douchey side, but that's okay because it enlightened me. It absolutely broadened my worldview because I took one sip of that and I was like, oh, this is really good. This is good coffee. Okay. How do you make this? And he was like, that machine back there. And I was like, well, I can't fit that in my suitcase. That thing's like 4 feet tall. Older than me. That doesn't make sense. So still stuck with the Dunkin' Donuts stuff until I met my wife, where now we're espresso freaks. And I recently started taking a couple of latte art making classes because I make our coffees in the morning. I'm the first one up. I get up. She hears the machine turn on. She hears me brew one. She knows that she needs to kind of open her eyes. She hears the second one go on. She knows it's time for her to go downstairs. And I sucked at making latte art and I hated it. And I really don't enjoy being bad at things. So I literally found a class actually at a coffee roastery where I had befriended the owners during COVID. Um, and went on Valentine's Day. We were the only 2 people there and we learned how to make a heart. That was the first thing that we learned how to make. But now I'm making, I don't even know what I'm making anymore. At this point, it's spiraled into its own things. I'm making pine trees. We're doing maple leaves. They're supposed to not be what they are, but it's like a Rorschach latte art. You can kind of look at it and see what you want on a given day. The leaves are great because I mean, yeah, it's winter, but it's not really winter in Miami ever. So it's the sensation of winter, I guess is what I would say. So I have gone from ground zero, the very bottom of coffee, to a much higher level than I ever imagined I would be, which is a wonderful thing because now we have to get rid of our Breville and we have to upgrade to a La Marzocco in the future. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's gonna cost me an arm and a leg, but eventually.
I'll go next since Kyle's the GOAT. We gotta save him for last. All right, so my name is this is awesome, by the way. This is so cool. Like, we're all gonna be best friends after this. Um, my name's Daniel Day. I have a company called CRFTD Athlete where I started this to kind of what AK was saying, like get to know the human side of coaching a little bit more. I started traveling with athletes in 2019 and working as like their personal performance specialist. So that's brought me all over the world. And then my wife started playing pro volleyball, and that has brought us to a new country every 8 months. So along that journey, I started to get into coffee after college, actually. I never drank coffee in high school, never in college. After college, we started traveling, and then I was like, I want a place to work from, like my laptop. So I was more looking for the vibe rather than the caffeine. So, you look up on Google Maps, you try to find some place that looks cool, environment's nice, homey, cozy. You pull up your computer and stay there all day. And then I'm like, all right, I'll try some coffee. My mom is a coffee addict. So I was like, I'll try it. it's okay. Kind of went down the rabbit hole of trying different drinks, milk based, pour over. Didn't really like it at first, to be honest. But then as I started traveling to different cities and looking up more shops, I started to kind of find the commonalities in the shops that I liked the most. And, it was kind of a combination of like the vibe of the place, but then also the drinks that they were making. And then, that kind of opened up a whole can of worms because then my palate was growing to know what good coffee was, what bad coffee was. And you start looking at the machines that they're using, and then, one thing leads to another. And then we moved to Europe for almost 4 years. So we had some experience in France. We lived in Italy for 2.5 years. So we got this coffee culture experience to see how different it is from America to, France, the UK, to Italy. Then we moved to Asia, which was a total different game of coffee. And basically, I just got more addicted as time went on. And I just learned that it's kind of like with training, it's like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And there's so many variables and there's so many constraints and things that you can manipulate. So actually, was probably maybe like a year and a half ago, and this is pretty close to I met Kyle soon after this. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna start making coffee at home." Started to make pour over, got a V60, I got a Chemex, and, just started messing around with it. Had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but then, you get one thing, you're like, "All right, well, now I need the kettle. Now I need the brew paper. Now what beans do I use?" And then one thing leads to another. And, this is a process you do every day, sometimes twice a day. So you have plenty of time to, refine and operate. And then, oh, I guess another thing that's a side note is I have a small media company where I do like photography and videography for small businesses. So I started doing that with coffee shops a few years ago when we would travel as like a means of like, I'm already doing some programming there. I'm working. I like coffee and I like to take pictures. So I kind of put it all together. So I would, work with some shops and give them some content for social media. I want to do a better job this year of like actually posting it or making something of it, like a blog maybe something like that. So yeah, that's kind of where the love started, and now I'm based in Tokyo, Japan. And I don't know if you guys have been to Tokyo, but it's really cool coffee city. Their pour over culture is insane and has brought me to a new level of knowledge or lack of knowledge that I'm trying to grow with and experiment and try different processes and learn. There's a lot of opportunity for cupping classes and things like that. So just taking every chance I get to try to make the best possible cup of coffee every morning. I've got my little coffee stand in our apartment, and yeah, just try to refine. And I use my wife as a guinea pig. She once thought all coffee tastes the same, so if I can convince her that it's supposed to taste like blueberries and it does, then it's dialed in. So that's it. I got a good convo. Chat GPT. I have a little folder open and I input all my settings, and yeah, spit out a little log every day. So it's gone to new heights, that's for sure. But it's a good time.
All right. My name's Kyle Sammons. I'm based in Scottsdale, Arizona now. I work in pro sports as a strength conditioning coach. That's probably an afterthought of my coffee, because coffee obviously goes hand in hand with strength conditioning, as AK said earlier. And so my path to coffee was actually at the byproduct of me rupturing both patellar tendons. So 11 months apart, I ruptured both. That's a different side note, but someone recommended to me to watch Dangerous Grounds. Dangerous Grounds is a documentary by a guy. His name is Todd Carmichael. He started La Coulomb, so coffee roasters out of Philadelphia. And what he did was he just traveled around the world. And this is before I knew there was something called the Coffee Belt. He traveled the Coffee Belt finding beans for all of his high profile clients. You're looking at like West Elm, Ritz Carlton, stuff like that. And so it was more of a learning experience though. Like he would travel the Coffee Belt. He would explain like where beans come from, the different varietals, different regions, different, meters that they grow at, shade grown versus non-shade grown. He went into Starbucks versus, your third wave coffee roasters, the difference of that. And so that's where I really got immersed in the coffee. So I saw him brewing coffee and I was, maybe I should try this, because I used to drink 7-Eleven coffee, like AK was saying. I think that's just kind of the common theme here in strength conditioning is you wake up really early, You work long hours, and so you drink coffee just for the caffeine, more or less. It doesn't taste that great, and so I watched that documentary. I was on the couch essentially for 6 weeks. So I started brewing coffee, and I was like, "There's something to this. It is very tea-like," but the process was what I was drawn to. Kind of what Daniel was saying. You have a scale, you have to weigh it out, you have a ratio of water to beans, you have temperature. So there's a lot of variables that can affect how it tastes. Um, and so that was probably where it started. And now, fast forward to where I'm at now, um, very similar, where I'm still brewing coffee. It's just very differently now. So I have a Chemex, I got a burr grinder, and I got scales. I will say Daniel has opened my eyes to different brew temperatures. For the longest time, I just brewed at a constant between 201 and 203, whereas now we are getting a lot cooler temperatures and the flavors are changing vastly. But also, too, I think there's just so many variables that change your coffee. Where they're grown, that dictates beans. You know how hard the bean is, how soft it is. Are they fermented? Are they not? So there's a lot of things going on there. But at the end of the day, I've grown to enjoy the process of brewing coffee, taste of coffee. I equate it to wine, very similar characteristics, where wine has, sommeliers, where coffee, it's more or less baristas or I guess strength coaches. But I will say the most life-changing experience I had was actually in all places, Reno, Nevada. So I used to work at University of Nevada, and I'd go to this little coffee shop to do work. And the guy that opened this shop, he was an engineer for IGT. IGT is the leading slot machine maker in the world. And so I started talking to him one day, and he's like, "Dude, I hate my job. I just want to brew coffee." And so he did this on the weekends where he had a little pop-up shop. And so I was sitting there, and he said, "Hey, Kyle, do you want to try a cup of coffee?" I said, "Sure." Well, it was a really rare geisha that he brewed up. It literally tasted like I was chewing on blueberries. And I think that was like my first experience where I was like, okay, there's a scale to coffee. There's definitely an experience to coffee, and it breeds a certain culture. So yeah, he left IGT. He opened his own coffee shop. He's got multiple now in the area down in Reno, Nevada. But I think at the end of the day, coffee has such a wide spectrum, and you brew the same cup 2 days in a row, it's probably gonna taste different. So I'm just drawn to the process, kinda like strength conditioning.
It's funny, as y'all were talking, my mind was going to all the overlaps between the sports performance, sports rehab world, and the coffee world, from an emphasis on people and community and having this sort of social glue aspect to it, whether you're connecting with the individuals who own the coffee shops or you're the one brewing the coffee for all your patients that are about to roll in and doing all the latte art and all that sort of thing. There's some type of community element to this. And on top of that, like Daniel outlined, like training, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. The Dunning-Kruger effect holds true at the end of the day, and we can have the same input and get a different output depending on the environment and the individual every single day. And I'd love to hear more from y'all about that, because that is something I'm very much a rookie at myself. I was literally reading through earlier and trying to take notes on the difference between French press, AeroPress, pour over, and then, as you mentioned, the temperature change, the environmental considerations, like the humidity apparently impacts like the extraction and the grinding of the actual beans. You mentioned location of where you get the beans from, flavor, bitterness. Obviously, latte art came up and all these different fun drinks that incorporate all kinds of different syrups and concoctions in there. Like, there is a whole million different directions we can take this thing. I'd just love to hear more from you all about all these different considerations that go into coffee, because it's seemingly endless to me. And I'd love to hear more about kind of how you navigate it and what kind of things you've learned throughout your own kind of process, as far as like what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what kind of the outcomes have been through your own trials and errors and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in feet first here. The variables of training, you have intensity, volume, density, whatever else, frequency. Very similar to brewing coffee. You have coarse, so how coarse is the bean? You have the temperature of the water, and then you have the ratio. The brewing methods are all over the map. French press, you're gonna have way darker beans. AK could probably talk about that as she roasts beans, but medium to light roasts is more frequent here, probably North America. me traveling to Italy, they don't believe in that. It's real dark. Daniel can attest to that. It's like choking down. I don't know what. It's like chalk, hot chocolate chalk. But I think that the variables are very similar. And that really opened my eyes talking to these coffee fanatics when I got rolling. Was they just said the three things you have to keep an eye on is how coarse or how fine you're grinding for your brew. Chemex is gonna be a little coarser, kind of like table salt, whereas French press, Turkish is gonna be like mud, where it's really fine. Um, your ratio, so whatever you want to do, 15-1 for Chemex, all the way down to 10-1 for something really stronger. The water temperature, and then the missing is like the extraction rate. So kind of what Daniel was talking about as well. But the extraction rate either is going to give you a watery flavor based on the coarseness or fineness of the bean, or it's going to give you a sourness. And so when I was brewing right early on, I was like, man, am I doing something wrong? Like this is like so sour. Well, it's too fine, and the water was getting just like stuck, and it wasn't flowing. As you can hear, I have a 1-year-old in the background chanting right now. But yeah, those are the main variables that I like to manipulate. And then the most recent one Daniel put me onto is just the water temperature. Like I started brewing at 190, whereas it was always 203. And 203 got a more bolder flavor, whereas 190 to 195 gets a little more flavor depending on what you're brewing. Ethiopia, a lot more fruit, sweetness. Whereas like you're looking at Central South America, more like nutty chocolate.
I think that's one of the most fun things.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle hit it on the head. I guess in its simplest form, you know, coffee brewing is just the ground bean coming in contact with hot water, and how you decide to make that happen is going to be, what the resulting cup is, and that's where you get all the different, types of ways that you can brew coffee. But I think the gold standard, I would say, or the easiest, that's most widely done, at least from what I've seen, my experience is like classic V60, like pour over. It's more easy to control and change these variables. So seeing how they've done that in Asia is like such an art, and I was doing it so wrong in the beginning. I was basically using like a fire hose of water pressure, just splashing it in a puddle of sand, and trying to change things. And now it's like you're watching these like very fine pores. And something that I showed Kyle was I was starting to see some brew recipes with VBB, velocity based brewing, and they'll actually have on the brew card like how many, like, was it in mLs, Kyle? I don't remember, but they like they basically were like they're very attentive to the rate at which you're applying water to the bean. So like grind size has to be dialed in. It's not going to work out. But then your flow rate of the water through it is like a whole nother art of a way to change how the coffee tastes. And that's something I've been playing around with recently, of just, like how much agitation you're giving the beans when you're pouring the water in, and then, like what changes there. But yeah, in its simplest form, it's just like, knowing where the bean came from, the elevation and the size of it, how much you're going to grind down, and then how much water needs to be applied, and the temperature of that water, to see like how you're going to essentially cook the coffee in a way. So if it's a lower elevation bean that is ground finer, you don't want to apply a lot of hot water, because you've already penetrated the bean. So you don't need to bring out a lot. I know it's kind of maybe generalizing it, but it is interesting to know that based on the variety, the process, the region, altitude, like there really are no absolutes in coffee. Like there's always like that one that's like, all right, you thought all Ethiopians were, this temperature and grind size. And then it's like, there's that one guy that wants like 80, I'm gonna do C's here, like 87, 85 degrees Celsius water. And you're like, this completely disrupts everything that I've ever known. And, it's really just, every cup is different, every bag's different. In Japan, they only sell like 100-gram bags. It's kind of weird. Like that's like the biggest you can get. So you've got, what, like a few cups of coffee to try and perfect it, and you learn about that variety, that roast, that particular bean, and then maybe you get one that's similar, and you can draw some things there. So that's why I keep a little log, because I get, a few cups of coffee from each bag, and then you got to redo it and see what you can do, or how fast you can dial that one in. But yeah, it's like it's the most simple, complex thing I've ever done. It's fun. Dan probably thinks we're crazy. He's like, "What did I get myself into?"
You're right though, because they're like and that's I think the best thing to me. It's what pulled me to it. I'm not a very patient person. Just generally speaking, like if I want something, I'm gonna go get it. If I like, that's where I sit in this world because it's just like, well, I see that thing over there. I want it. I'm gonna go make this happen for me. You can't do that when you're like, if I want a really good cup of coffee in the morning, I know I'm waking up 30 to 45 minutes early to do that because I'm not just going to roll in, press a button and go because I can't do that anymore. I just can't. I won't. If I'm not giving myself time to do it and do it well, I don't want it. And I do 1 cup of coffee a day. I might be the different strength coach out of everybody else, but also unmedicated ADHD. So that's a whole nother conversation that nobody cares about. But I'm 1 cup. And that's all I really need at home is I'll make 1 cup and it's gonna be a really freaking great cup of coffee. That's how I feel. Once I figure it out, like at first, you start off pour over and you're just like, whatever, like just gonna throw some water on here. No, I'm gonna get a kettle with this spout, right? That's going to control the flow of water. And then I'm gonna look at the beans that I'm using. I'm gonna look at grind size. I'm gonna look at the filtration method that I'm using, right? Like all of these things, weighing everything out. Like sometimes it's annoying and people will watch you do it and they're like, why does that take so long? Like 1 cup of coffee. It's a process. It's a process that I really enjoy. And then I think I learned the same thing when I was roasting of like how specific I have to be and writing down again, like how hot is it in my garage? I'm roasting outside. I'm not roasting inside my house. My whole house is like, it just doesn't work that way. My poor little stove, the ventilation fan doesn't work like that. Um, but everything matters, and I think that that's something to me that, like, when I can get meticulous about something and it really does matter, my coffee logs are probably not like yours, Daniel. I can't say that I'm, like, this person that logs my stuff every single day, um, but I have the most fun. I have a little journal that, like, when I get a bag of something that I really enjoy or, like, that's what everybody got me for Christmas was just bags of coffee from, like, their favorite places, which I love. That's one of the best ways I think to connect with people is just they're like, "I have this coffee shop and I thought of you because you love coffee, so I got you this bag." Somebody sent me a bag of, like, extra dark roast, and I was like, I am not gonna drink that, but thank you." Like, I'm gonna find somebody who wants it because it's not me. I won't drink that, but still love you. It's still meaningful to me. But that's been the most fun for me, and then, again, like, using it as a connection tool because of the way that people enjoy it differently. Like, I've heard different things at this point. Some people add milk. I do not. I like black coffee. Give me black coffee, but some people add milk, some people add sugar and syrups, and we're looking what latte art from Ryan. Like, I can't wait to see that. I'm really excited. I got a book about it for Christmas. That was one of my Christmas gifts. Can't wait. But I think it's really cool, and it just speaks to me. That tells me a little about that tells me a little bit about you. Like, if you're creative, Jada was saying that earlier. Like, if you're creative and you're that person that you love to create different uh flavor combinations, stay away from some of my coffee. We're not doing that. It's just meant to be it's meant to be drank by itself. But it's really cool to see people do that and dive into what they like, and then it lets me speak into them a little bit. "Hey, I know you like this," so I started making syrups. Like, I made my own syrup, made, like, a brown butter sage, I'm sorry, brown sugar sage, and I did quite a few this last fall that I really enjoyed, did my homemade pumpkin spice, like, stuff like that, that adding that to a little bit of coffee for somebody is so much fun, and it changes everything about it to me. So, I think that's the biggest thing to me is that there are all these things that you can get into the nitty-gritty about how it's made, but then once it's made, manipulating it from there, whether you're using cold brew methods and beans and siphons and all these other things to actually get the end product is patience. And, like, how patient am I gonna be? Is it gonna be trial and error? Am I gonna ruin this batch? Like, am I gonna ruin something when I do this, trying something a new way? But for me, that's how I fell into it and what I like about it the most and what I like about the end product. Um, and for me too, connecting with my athletes, like when we travel to new cities with volleyball, we do coffee walks. That's something we do in the morning. They're like, "AK, where are we going? Like, what are we doing? What are we getting? Where are we going? What's the order?" Like, well, you guys know my order, but then some of the kids, based on who they are, what they like, and what I know about them, I'll order for them. "Hey, I think you should get this, this." "Okay, okay, I'm gonna do it." And the blueberry muffin too? Yeah, whatever, bro. Get your blueberry muffin. I don't care. I'm here for the coffee.
That's really funny. I feel the same way with like connecting people with like those kind of coffee orders. That reminds me when I was in college, I would get probably daily texts from people that were going to like coffee shops on campus, and they were like, "What do I order? What do I order?" And I would be that's how I like started getting known around campus. Is people would be like, "Oh, that's the coffee girl." And so people would like remember like different orders and stuff, and people would be like so excited when they'd see me be like, "Oh, try this thing," and I'd like post it out, and they'd be like, "Oh, I saw you tried like whatever," or I'd be like, I remember one time I was like going into like an exam or something. I got a text from like an old high school friend that I'd not talking to in years, and they were like, I saw your videos, like, I'm going to Starbucks later today, and, like, I have this gift card someone got me, and I haven't gone there in years, and, like, I don't know what to get, and I remember, like, standing outside this classroom, like, sending them, like, quick orders before I, like, walked into the exam. I was like, "I can't leave them hanging." But anyway, that's funny because I feel like that's kind of the same way that I'll connect with people on that level too. I feel like we've talked a lot about different, like, methods and stuff, and so I feel like we've kinda talked a lot about that, and I'm more interested in getting into, like, that world too, but, I feel like maybe Daniel will relate to this a little bit of, like, the aesthetics of, like, the coffee shops, and I feel like the coffee presentation as much as the coffee itself, but I feel like even I mean, I do, like, a lot of fun milks and syrups and whatnot, but even, like, I just got, like, a new, like, ice, ice tray contraption. It's, like, this 4-layer ice thing, that you, like, have to fill up, like, pretty precisely, and it's, I don't know, maybe, like, 75, like, little tiny holes, and it makes, like, little tiny mini, like, square ice cubes, and so, like, ice has been something that I am, like, very obsessed with when it comes to coffee. Like, if I go to a coffee shop and they are using, like, the wrong kinda ice, I think it ruins it for me. I think also specifically, like, a lot of like, Starbucks recently switched to Pebble Ice. Um, Not a huge fan of that. I just feel like Pebble Ice belongs more in, like, fun, dirty soda drinks, which I've also gotten my hands into before, and I like that. I also think when coffee shops are using, like, you know, like, the flat ice that has, like, the round, it's like I call it kitchen ice. Like, if you're getting coffee at a coffee shop or an iced latte or something, and the ice looks like they use their, like, kitchen refrigerator for it, I'm like, "Nope, not a fan." I also think syrups, like, when coffee shops do house-made syrups, I think that gives them, like, a million extra bonus points. I just think I mean, I have, like, all the different however you say it, like, all different syrups, but I'm like, if I'm going out and trying, like, your coffee, I want, like, your specialty fun syrup, and so I feel like I have a lot of, like, those, like, random kind of hot take things, I guess, about specific coffee that, like, you wouldn't get unless you care that much about it. I think also oat milks. I just got this new oat milk the other day, um, and it was yellow, which probably honestly means it's more natural, like, it was, like, you know, a 3-ingredient type thing, but kinda ruined it for me. I was like, this just doesn't look pretty," and I was trying out this new drink, and I was like, "Well, that kinda sucks." Um Almond milk also, I feel like there's very specific almond milks that work. Some of them are way too watery and then just kind of destroy the coffee. So I don't know. So I feel like I kind of think of things as like from the aesthetic side, even like straws, like when straws are too flimsy and you're using that and then you know it gets like stuck in the thing and it like starts cracking. That's also something that I feel like I think of a lot. I was in Hawaii a couple years ago and I remember there was this coffee shop that I was working with. I would do kind of probably similar thing that like Daniel does. I would reach out to coffee shops before going places, and ask them if they like needed any social media stuff. And I do a little bit on like the photo video side. I have like a little bit of sports media background from school, but I love the like content creation, social media side of things. And so I'd offer to come in and like create content for them and post about it on my stuff. And I remember going to this like coffee shop in Hawaii, and it was awesome. They were so nice, so exciting. But they were using those like compostable coffee cups, which, like, offer compostable and save the earth, like, 100% love that, but it has this, like, green, like, big writing, like, 100% compostable that, like, you see, I feel like, at a lot of different places or, like, doctor's offices will have them, and I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "That sucks." I'm like, "You guys need some even if you just get, like, a coffee sleeve and, like, brand your stuff on there to put" I'm like, "You're missing out on so much marketing by not having your own coffee, cups." So that's I mean, I kind of will also, like, do, like, little consulting things for different businesses, and I kinda landed in some coffee shops there, so that's, like, one thing that I'll always say to them, and I think the biggest other thing that I feel like I see with coffee shops when in my head, like, marketing and coffee overlap so much. There's so many coffee shops that, like, when you're working at the coffee shop, they'll put the lid on, and, like, if it's, like, the sippy part of the lid will be in line with the logo. And my like suggestion and my thought process, it always like drives me crazy, is to flip it around. So that way when you're like holding the coffee cup and you're going to drink it, the logo is facing outwards. So you're getting like all this new marketing for people. And so people are always like so shocked by like that like tiny little thing. But I feel like in my head, I think I like would love to get into all the different like roasting side, and like I know a little bit about that stuff, but my mind I feel like is very like marketing focused with coffee and the creative side. Um so yeah, and I need that pumpkin spice syrup recipe. That sounds really good. But that's my little take with this up. Dan was asking me, I thought I'd give a little different input besides course and different water temperature, which I've actually never thought about. So now I'm gonna start thinking about that.
So I don't even know if I can add anything else. That was quite a breadth of information. What I can talk to in this case, I think, is probably all of you guys are gonna test this as well, but I would say the coffee experience, and AK, you've done a really good job of talking about how it brings people together. And one of the ways that I've used coffee, I mean, yeah, I make it at home, right? And me and my wife enjoy our coffees at home and our slower mornings. But when we make it at work, it's funny because we have that Breville machine that's right behind you, AK. That's what we have at work, right? And the machine itself, it's old. Our clinic is new, our practice is new. We didn't get the new coffee machine when we got the new practice. We ended up getting the old coffee machine from the old practice because, of course, we did. So I spent a few months cleaning it, dialing it in. Like, this machine needed some love. So I was able to really put a little bit of TLC into it, get it all cleaned up, flush it a few times, make sure that everything was good, running clean. And then we started trying to find the right coffee bean that made sense for us, for our machine, for our intents and purposes. Because no offense to Old Bull Coral Gables, but their coffee culture is trash. It is garbage. It is Death Wish coffee. It is not ground the right way. It might not even be whole bean. I forget. But it's like a give me a puck, jam it into the machine, twist it so that way it's impossible to actually get it out after the fact. If it's black, it's got caffeine in it. That's all they want. It's a travesty. It's an absolute abomination, which is why I fixed it in Pinecrest. So and it's funny too because people that have come from the Gables to Pinecrest are like the coffee here is way better. I'm like, this is you're not drinking coffee over there. That's magic bean water that they didn't brew right. It's not good. I'll tell them to their faces. But it's such a different experience when somebody walks in the door, because like we don't look like your average physical therapy practice either. It's funny. We look more like probably a collegiate training facility. And the nice thing about that is that they're already caught off guard because they came in for PT or rehab. And they're like, you guys are throwing some weight around. I'm like, yeah, do you want a latte? And they see me, the bowling ball that I am, cue ball, standing next to an espresso machine. They're like, what? You just offer me a latte? I'm like, yeah. Do you want a heart or do you want a flower? And that is one of the most disarming things in the world. It's absolutely hysterical to see in people's reactions, because Miami, frankly, does not have very good coffee culture. For one, there's too many coffee cultures, right? You have all of Latin America, all of Central America, and all of South America. They all have their own individuals. I don't know if you guys saw me drinking from my cup earlier, but my wife very graciously made me a cafe con leche. So Cuban coffee with some steamed milk in there, tremendous. I'll be awake for the next 3 days, which is awesome. That's fine. I don't need to sleep. But the there's so many different cultures with the Cuban coffee kind of being the predominant among Cubans, obviously, right? But even then, if you can make a good cup of coffee, one that makes you feel good and one that kind of like warms your soul, it connects all the individual cultures. It doesn't matter where they're from. And that's been super fun. Because I've got people from Mexico, people from Venezuela, people from Spain, just everywhere that are like, dude, I need a coffee right now, please. But don't espresso, like give me the latte. Just do it the way that you normally do it. It's awesome. So the kind of connection points of making a good cup of coffee and like just having that human experience of like just do it right, please. I need this one right now. Like throw me a bone. Today's been tough. You're gonna kick my ass right now too. Just give me the one thing that I need to get through the rest of this day. Absolutely. Go ahead. Get your warm up started. So I feel like that's was one thing. And also, Daniel, 100-gram bag is a travesty, dude. That is a travesty. I've got a 5-pound bag of beans sitting in my pantry right now. Actually, I might have 2 5-pound bags of beans sitting in my pantry, but either way, that's I couldn't possibly dial in a bag. I couldn't possibly do it. It doesn't make any sense. It takes because even then, if you get okay, the roastery that I get is local to West Palm Beach. Pump House Coffee Roasters. They ship locally to Florida. It's fresh. They will not sell you a bag of coffee that is older than a month, which I love, right? So if it's they get it, they roast it, it's to you. And even with the individual roast that I get, it's not a blend, it's just a specific bean. You'll get different flavor profiles, which you guys have already talked about, and you got to dial that in just a little bit, right? Increase the amount of grind size, decrease the amount of grind size. Maybe you have to increase the amount of the grind. I mean, for the espresso machines, you're not really adjusting the temperature too much, but you are fluctuating the pressure based off of the size and the amount and the pressure there. And I think you have the analog one, AK, right? That has the pressure gauge to it. I have the electric one and it doesn't give me the information. I've got the manual analog one at work, and I like that information because I tend to, you said meticulous, I prefer neurotic. I get neurotic about it because that makes a bit more sense to me, right? Neuroticism is where I live in most things. But that's like from an espresso perspective, if you can get the pressure perfect, then you feel good about it because it looks right, right? You watch the crema come out of it and everything, you get the color and then it sits on top and you can swirl it and it comes back. It's a beautiful thing, right? But then you actually have to like really care about it and pay attention to it. So that's my 2 cents. Probably more like 5, but that's okay.
I was just trying to figure out if I had 100 grams of anything and somebody gave me this and it's green beans. I think that might be about right. That might be the smallest bag I have. And even then, I think that's more than 100 grams. I was just literally looking around. I was like, what do I even have that's close to that? That might be it. I haven't roasted these yet, but I want to.
I've gotten like little sample bags. I feel like for
Yeah.
coffee roasters, I've like connected with like through social media, and they'll send like a little, and they're like tiny. Like I feel like that would be like maybe, but I feel like definitely not.
Yeah, 13-gram cups. You really have to be careful. But that's why it kind of inspired me to like, all right, I want to kind of find the commonalities of what worked and maybe what I know about, that region, or, just looking at, one variable at a time to focus on manipulating, but then try to find out what worked from the previous one. And then, I try to, I know what I like, so I try to stay in that realm. And then every once in a while, I'll just get like some wild coffee that maybe I tried it at the shop, I liked it, so then I know what it's supposed to taste like, and then I can go home and see what I can do there. But it's cool if you go to a place where most of the shops in Japan are roasteries too, at least like the better shops. So like you can ask them when you buy the bag, like that's probably, someone who knows something about it. So you can be like, hey, like I got a V60 Commandante, what do I do? And immediately they're like, 26 clicks on the grinder, start at 92 Celsius and then go from there. So you have a starting point, and then based on the cup, you can, change it if it's an older roast, or if it's, just hot off the press, then you got to change it a little bit. But you do have a starting point, so you're not shooting in the dark completely.
Daniel, I feel like I have to ask, how's the matcha over there?
Matcha's incredible. I will say that I am not as well versed in matcha to know like really good matcha from not so good matcha, but it's everywhere, and I think it's excellent. It's really good.
No bad matcha there.
Yeah,
Everyone always says this, if you go to Japan and try matcha, like you're just changed. You can't go back.
I asked one of my friends there, and I was like, "Where do we get like the good matcha?" He's like, "Dude, like it's all good. Like, it's everything's good. There are levels to it. There's like Uji matcha. I think like certain regions are known for like really quality stuff. It's extremely expensive. It's more like it's like that like neon green. They like take it and smear it, and that kind of like it's how they grade it based on like the color it leaves on the paper. But I had a couple that they said were really good, and I enjoyed it. But I stick with coffee. I can't deviate too much.
Yeah, sorry, off topic. I just had to know.
No, it's good. It's good. But yeah, if I start getting a matcha kit, my wife's like, look, you have half the house for this coffee station here. And
You gotta try a there's a name for it. I mean, in my head, it's just a dirty matcha. Like, I did some social media stuff for a coffee shop once, and people would get espresso shots in matcha. I don't think I ever tried it. I need to one time just to see what it's like, but
my wife likes it. I
Really?
personally don't like it. It kind of like, I feel like kills both of them. You either got to go one way.
yeah, I can't imagine I would like that.
I think AK's skin's crawling right now. I can see it.
It's not to be totally a fun killer, but matcha tastes like grass to me.
It does. It's an
I'm
acquired
like,
taste.
oh,
Like, this is a great matcha then.
no, I've not had the Japanese. Like, I haven't had the good stuff, I guarantee you. But every time I've had matcha, I'm like, if we don't put some syrup in that, like,
Yeah. I'm just looking for some honey or lavender to throw in there.
yes, I'm here for that. They did like one of the coffee shops, local coffee shops here, did a summer matcha, like a lemonade something with a lavender cold foam.
There you go.
Great. I was here for that. I tried that one. I was like, hey, that's great because I can't taste it. So I couldn't taste the matcha. So I don't think
A lot of
that's
the
it.
matcha in Japan is like they'll just drink it with water. Like there's no milk. Like if you think matcha latte, okay, it's milk based, so it's like, but like it's literally just warm water and grass powder. Like it's very acquired taste. Like
No.
you've got to like it because they're not putting anything else in there, and it is good. But I agree, it's very particular.
People probably feel the same way about like coffee though. Like it's literal dirty bean water. Like I just throw it in there for me. That's all I want. I don't want milk in there. I don't want sugar in there. They probably feel the same way. That's okay. But it's just not for me. Yes. What you did say though, Jada, about the coffee cups. So that's one of my favorite things, and I think Dan will probably speak to this more than anybody on my social media. When I go to coffee shop, like my every single time I have a tattoo on my hand, and I take the same picture everywhere I go with the cup. If they have logos, I make sure their logo's showing, and I'm generally wanting to be like pointing the direction either at the front of their shop where I can get their personal branding, or if they don't have a pretty front, like or it's gross outside or something, inside facing the bar, like where either where you're ordering or facing the menu. And so that's how I have two, I think two whole favorites at this point of like every coffee shop I have ever been inside, I take that same photo and I post it and I tag them and I tag everything, whatever, yay, here's, wherever, here's what I got. If I got beans from there, whatever. But it's the same picture. Like I don't take photos of the latte art. I don't get lattes. So that's like I've seen people do the same photo everywhere they go. And I was like, this one's gonna be mine. So when we go to coffee, like if I go somewhere and we go to coffee and I take people to coffee, we take that same photo. I take my photo and everybody throws their hands in and it's the whole thing. That's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And when people take photos on Instagram and like come at me for, or that like you'll tag me in it, like I did an AK photo today. I'm like, that makes my heart happy. That's one of the dumbest things in the world to me. That means the most. Like my friends will do it, my family will do it. They're like, oh, like it's a cringy AK photo. And I'm like, that's right. And it's mine. And you did it. And I love it. And we're like, again, it's just connecting and like poking fun at it. I think it's the most fun. And it's another experience, or somebody else will like make fun of it and do it. Great. I love it. I think it's so much fun. My kids started doing reviews of coffee shops when we would go places. We would go and they would come, they'd have their little TikTok mic and they'd run up and they'd do this. Well, I'm going to get this mocha and I'm going to get this many, blah, 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 whatever it was they were going to do. And they were just having the most fun doing it. So at that point, are they expanding their palettes? No. Are they having the best time? And like, they're connecting with strangers. They're talking to people. They're going out and they're doing new things and trying something new every once in a while, or just enjoying each other while we go walk to go get coffee and taking our photo at the end, whatever it is. I think it's really cool. But that really hit me because if a place has a cool cup, I'm probably going back. Like their Loyal Coffee in Colorado Springs has one of the coolest cups. They have the mountains on there and their logo. It's one of the coolest cups ever. Coolest ever. Java Kai in Kauai has some of the coolest freaking stamps. Like you were saying, like they literally would just have white cups and stamps. And then now they have this green cup with like their pink logo all over it. And it's just like repeated pattern all the way around. Coolest thing ever. But that was literally the first thing that came to my mind when you were talking about that. I was like, yes, facts. If it has a really cool logo on your cup, I'm going to blast you on that and I'll come back. I'll try more drinks from you.
That's so cool. I wish I did I've taken a lot of coffee shop pictures.
Yeah.
I wish I did it like I like how you were saying like you do like the same shot each time. I feel like that'd be cool to put that together. Because of like social media stuff, I feel like I have a lot of videos which I've like put together for I actually it was kind of a full circle thing with Starbucks, and I talked to Dan about this. Back in May I applied to this thing with Starbucks. They're looking for a global coffee creator.
Oh, wow.
travel the world for them, like to their different farms and stuff, and create content for them. And so I got really far into application process, and a couple months ago they flew me out to Seattle for like this whole long panel round interview, which was awesome. And so I got to talk about this for like hours and hours this whole week with people about how coffee connects with people. Like that was the whole definition of the project that they're doing. Um Long story short, I wound up not getting it. I've talked to them about some other things. Hopefully something works out eventually, but I got super, super close to getting it, which is cool. And they just launched the program. So if you look at Starbucks content, there's these two awesome like global content creators that they have that are going around. And so it's really, really interesting seeing, I mean, now like what they're doing, but also like when I was in these interviews talking about how much it connects people. And a lot of people just don't think about that. But then it is like the same way that I feel like your like circle probably knows you for like those kind of things. Like I feel like I've been able to connect with people the exact same way. And even like, being in Seattle talking to like their team about things, there's just certain things you don't think about. And I feel like it's very specific to athletes and the athletic world that it seems like most of you guys are into. And I have younger brothers that are college athletes, and so it's interesting like the way that they talk about different like mechanics or different like strength training stuff. Like it's very similar to that world. And I would travel a lot with my I was a competitive jump roper my whole life, and we would travel a lot
Hell yeah.
different places. And so that was also something people would be like, oh, like Jay was picking the coffee spots in the morning, like where are we going? And yeah, so it's funny, like just the little things that'll like bring people together. So I like that. But I need to start taking things in the exact same situation.
Yeah.
I can start stacking it.
Wait, I
Do it.
I have a question. Dan, I don't mean to steal your question here. My name's Dan too, so I can like co-host. What do you guys, all right, you pull up to a new city and you're like, you have no recommendations. What are you doing? You open Google Maps. What are you looking for? Like what's the go-to like prerequisites
Hmm.
for your choices? You have no recommendations. You don't know anything. You're just going off of Google Maps. What do you guys think?
Rule number one, no name brands.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I was about to say, I won't go. You brought up Dunkin'. I will not go to a Starbucks, a Dunkin', a freaking Caribou, whatever, Pete's. No, it cannot be. It can't be a chain.
Words, just so you're aware.
Bruh, I'm just telling you, I'm not coming. If we're going to Dunkin', I'm not coming. But but 9 times out of 10, when I look up the places that we're in, and there's always a photo. So I want to see what you're brewing. If you're brewing, like where you're sourcing your coffee from, because there's some places that they'll bring beans in from other places. Obviously, it's not a roastery. I'm looking for the roasteries. I'm looking for the roastery shops first. That's my first. That's my go-to. If I can't find one, I'm gonna find one that sources local, like something local, right? You can find one that's sourcing them from a local roastery somewhere, even if that roastery is not a shop itself. Those are my two. Like I want to make sure that I'm supporting some kind of local entity. And like I brought up Java Kai that's in Kauai. They roast their own beans, and they're supporting locals because that's obviously what they hire. Like you can't hire people that aren't really locals, and they've created like 100 some odd jobs in the last 3 years. And so I think all of those things are also really important to me of like, yes, I want to get a cup of coffee, but I also don't want to feed into something that I don't really support. Like again, we talk about being patient. Sorry, my dog's found something. But like being patient, that was one of the things I'm like, I want to make sure that it's feeding the community, right? That it's not feeding some massive corporation on some level. Not that that's Starbucks is what it is. People get great things from there. My kids come in with drinks this big that I'm sure are going to give them diabetes one day, but that's another thing. They all serve their purpose and they all have their place. But me personally, that's what I'm looking at.
I mean, I go straight to the Instagram. I like look at I'll
Yeah.
like I use Apple Maps the most, and so I'll use Apple Maps and then I go to the website and find the Instagram, and I'll make a folder. Usually before I get there, I'll make a folder on Instagram of all the coffee shops that I find. So I guess I start on Apple Maps, or I go on TikTok and search, coffee shops and the place, and then watch the videos to like inspect like the coffee shop, what it looks like through other people's videos to see which ones are worth it. Which I feel like that's a whole nother level of aesthetics and stuff that like I feel like I'll look for. But I'm definitely straight to like the Instagram trying to find out. And like if your last post is like from years ago, usually you don't make it into the folder. Sorry. Um there are differences though, like roasteries versus coffee shops. Like I like hitting both. I was just in the Virgin Islands, and the Virgin Islands has like a coffee roastery. But then they also have, yeah, maybe Ashley's been there.
It's so good.
Yeah, so I went to the roastery and the guy that owns the place was so nice. I was like, of course, asking a million questions. And then he was like, "You want a tour of the place?" And so, oh my gosh, yes, literally there. I have the bag from the bag coffee literally on my counter right now that I got there, the espresso roast. That's so crazy. No way. That was really funny. And it was funny. The owner, the guy knows this other roaster that he went to like some kind of roastery school with, that lives in Brooklyn. And I like knew the place in Brooklyn. Funny small world. Coffee's small world, I guess. But I feel like I'll like look at roasteries like to get like interested in like the process, the coffee. But then on the other side, like I could go to both one day, like go to the roastery, learn about the stuff. They probably supply all the coffee shops in the area. So I know whatever coffee shop I'm going to, like it's going to be supplied with their beans. And I'll like get a bag of usually espresso beans to bring home with me. And then I'll like go to my little Instagram folder list to find a cute one.
Is there Urban Farms? The one in Brooklyn?
Yeah. I'd love it. It's so good. It's so good. The one that he was connected to was
They're up there somewhere.
I can't remember, but I've been to Irving Farm. I like their stuff. I've gotten their beans.
Bags matter too. What your bag looks like, if it makes it on my wall or not, that matters. I'll go back. I'll take a little bit like subpar coffee to get a cool freaking bag every time.
I've got a sleeper one. Without looking at any pictures or anything, you just see the name of some coffee shop. You don't know what it means. If it closes by 3 p.m., it's going to be fire. If they can have an establishment that can run just until 2 p.m., like they're doing some good work. Like they're having some wines, they're packing the house. They've probably got a $50,000 espresso machine.
Yeah, if you open before 7 a.m. too, respect. Because when I go places and I got a coffee shop that doesn't open till 8, I'm like, what are we doing? What's happening then? I'm like up on my walk at 6. I would love to visit I would love to be your first customer if you open at 6. I found a place in, where were we? Savannah, maybe? I don't know. I found a place that opened at 5:30 and I was like, you guys win. That was it.
Don't come to Japan. It's all 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is the earliest coffee shop. It's incredible, yeah.
What do they do before 10?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are they okay?
I'm gonna start my own coffee shop, and you're just gonna come to my apartment from me 6 to 10.
Matcha and 10, and then they switch over.
I don't understand it. 10 a.m. is the earliest.
My third cup by 10.
They're right. The day is practically over.
Yeah, I'm done for the day. I'm finished.
We've thrown a ton of different specific coffee names from Kauai to Colorado Springs to Nevada and so on out there. I'd love to get like a take home 5 to 10 coffee shops around the world list from everyone if we could that way. Places like that you really like have on that list, like starred, highlighted, underlined in bold, that were just absolutely incredible. What are kind of our top places across the country, across the world that way that we've been to? Because I hear from all of you that you are the people that people go to when they need a place. So give us your secrets here.
Okay, I was literally like trying to scroll real quick through my Instagram to find this one place. There's this place in Italy. When I was there for Milan's Fashion Week, like last Fashion Week season, and it's called Orsonero coffee. If it'll load. It's got a really cute little like, I don't know what this logo is. But I've like found the story post real quick. That was a little cute cappuccino. If it'll load, come on, lighting. There we go. For a second. Anyway, super good. Like I still think about that coffee and I'm so mad at myself that I didn't get beans from there. And normally I like the fun little sugary fun things, but I just got like a plain cappuccino and put a little brown sugar on it. That's so good. And there's this place called Amelia's in London. They were the first coffee shop that I worked with like social media wise when I studied abroad in London. And their stuff was really, really good. And I feel like I also just have like a good taste in my mouth, I guess, from them because they were just really fun to work with. So those are the top 2 that I think of off of the top of my head. Oh, and one more in the US. There's a place called Morning Mugs in Baltimore. They were the first people I ever worked with like social media wise. And their stuff is really good. And they're very like kind of what Ashley, or I guess AK, I got the lingo now. What AK was saying. Like the connecting with people and their kind of thing, like that is like their mission. At Morning Mugs Coffee, like they're very much like put a smile on your face, coffee second, which their coffee is of course good too. But they're very like people focused, which I really liked the memo of that. And it's tied into sports. They're right near Camden Yards, the Orioles stadium. And I'm a big baseball fan. And so some of the Orioles players would come in to get coffee before going to practice. And that was when I did some social media stuff with them. So I got to meet some O's players and was chatting with them about their coffee orders, which was really funny.
As I'll always talk. Dan knows. Dan, I'll always talk. Um, I don't know if I can even pick. I already blasted out Java Kai and Loyal. So I lived in Colorado Springs for a while. There's too many. There are too many good places in Colorado Springs between Loyal, Story, Switchback. There are all these coffee roasteries right there in Colorado Springs that I love. So I can't really go off on that. If we're going from the world, we did a Euro tour with volleyball not this last summer, but summer before. And we stopped in Prague and I found a lot of really good coffee while we were on that Euro tour, but we were in Istanbul, we were in Prague, we were in um shoot, Austria, down into Venice, and then where else were Slovenia. So like some very different coffee cultures as we kind of rolled through. But there was a place in Prague called Beansmiths, and not Bean Smith, Bean Smiths. I don't know, couldn't make that one up. But that was definitely one of my favorite experiences. They were one of the only places that did pour overs. It's just not a common thing, is what I found out. And so they were one of the only places that did a pour over, and it was great. Um, I already threw out my favorite, so Java Kai that's over in Kauai. Um, Big fan of theirs. There's Haven Coffee up there too. There's some really, really great coffee out there that I really can never get enough of. Um, but if you're here in Baton Rouge, we have Lighthouse Coffee, and they started doing their own roast. They didn't roast their own beans. They got their beans from Topeka for a long time, which is fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. So I didn't go there for a while, and then they started roasting their own. And this last year, and it's been great, and I really like it. So if you're here in Baton Rouge, stop by Lighthouse Coffee. It's definitely worth the stop. And then you can come to LSU and train or whatever. We can go take pictures, Jaeda, whatever. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Teach me social media, because right now I got off of it because it just annoys me. And I don't think I do it right. I don't think I can. I can. I know I can. It just bothers me because I feel like I was like, oh, I can do other things. But education and content and connection and all those things are so important to me. But I think I was confusing attention and connection with social media. And so I just stopped. And is what it is, but I would like to do it correctly, and I feel like you're the person that can tell me how to do it correctly.
We can get
And
coffee. I don't teach you.
yo, come on, let's go.
I'm trying to search through my European travels that we've done the past few years. Europe doesn't love pour overs. Daniel, he can attest to that. Like Italy, you would think it's the mecca of coffee just because they roast everything, but they roast it to a level where it's like charcoal. And so I gotta find it. But when we were at Rome, we literally stumbled upon this place that actually had proper cappuccinos and pour overs. And you will not find that in Italy anywhere, other than just you're slapping like your euros on the counter and grabbing espresso and running. So like I gotta find what it was called. I don't know off the top of my head, but it was like a little tiny just push cart, which was great. And it was to what AK was saying, or what you guys are saying, like this place opened probably 2 hours before any other coffee shop in Italy opened. So that right there is a dead giveaway that it was probably a place we should go to. In Greece is also another place that doesn't love pour overs, but they have like iced cappuccinos, Fredos, that are like out of this world. I don't know what they do to them, but they probably load them with sugar. I don't know, but they're really good. Um, but me traveling, in sports now, I have a whole laundry list by city of places that I've ranked and rated, and pour overs, espressos. So any place we go to now, we got a pretty strong coffee culture inside our team setting, coaches and players. So it's kind of cool. Some of these players, I've actually showing them, like what proper coffee is, because of all these players, they just want, 10 pumps of something and, half and half, uh, oat milk lattes or whatever. But so it's just having them sit down and just talk about it is really cool because everyone's like, yo, I never even thought it was this deep. Best coffee place though, my wife and I lived in Seattle for 7 years. That is like a mecca of coffee, good and bad. Starbucks and whatever else you got up there. But the little multi roasters were places that we would dabble in, and there's a place on Lake Union called Millstead. Um, Probably top notch, and everybody on our staff is like, "Yo, that place is unreal." Um, it's interesting because coffee is like wine, like I was explaining, like if all of us sat down and had coffee, we'd all taste something probably different. And the experience and the vibe. I will say Japanese style coffee shops are like minimalist, sleek. They're really cool. And we found some of those in Seattle as well. But in Scottsdale, like um, there's a few, but mostly in Scottsdale, there aren't like great roasters. Um, I mean, you have Cartel and you got Press, but I'm always trying to search for those little guys.
I thought for sure you were gonna say, what is it, Umbria or
Oh,
Kuma?
no.
I love Kuma coffee. Kuma might be one of my favorite. I have an entire, like literally an entire like mural dedicated to all their stuff. I love Kuma coffee. I don't know what it is. They're awesome.
I'm trying to like look at your wall back there because you got all the bags and they're great. So like for a
It's sick.
while
It's really fun. And
we were doing you mentioned Beanbox. We were doing that.
Mhm.
But there was an OG place in Seattle. It was called Slave Coffee. It was
Oh yeah, I've had some of theirs too.
roasted. They folded, I guess. I think it was a family dispute, but they were really good. I see Dune up there. Dune's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, of all places, Onyx Coffee out of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yes, real good.
Yeah,
You
their calendar, their advent calendar. One of my friends got me the advent calendar. Unreal.
oh we just burned right through
Unreal.
that.
Yeah.
Unreal. God,
We did
that
the whole
for yeah. Oh.
yeah.
Oh.
I was sending Daniel Day that stuff, and he was intrigued by it. But yeah, coffee advent calendar, and we've done it almost every year
So
for the
good.
past 3 years, well, 5 years now. And the boxes are getting more extravagant. If you open it, it's like, dude, it's like a treasure chest. But yeah, it's really cool how they have the cards and they tell you kind of like the brew temperature, where it's coming from, the region, the elevation. But that's kind of what I like.
Oh, I love it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. You got a deck of cards this year too, like a deck of playing cards, but then you got the card every day. It breaks down a little bit about the farm. Like I love knowing that. I love knowing where it came from. I love understanding a little bit about whatever it, and then they put it in these bags that's literally just labeled day by day, and you grind it and you like weighing it out. For me, I was just like, I'm making this whole thing. Like I'm not secret. I'm going hard on this. And so I would share it. I walk my dogs with some of my friends in the morning, and so I would make everybody a little cup and I would take it and they'd be like, what are we trying today? And I'd pull up the card and be like, this is what we're trying. This is what you should be tasting. This is what you should be smelling. Like, let's go. And everybody always had something different. It was really cool though.
Yeah, the last thing I'll just say, I'm talking quieter because our 1-year-old's sleeping now. But our PTs that we work with, I've actually now started brewing them coffee. And they're always asking me, they're like, where's this coming from? I'm like, Ethiopia today, Uganda, Kenya. And they're like, we should play music from that region when you walk in the door, like where you're brewing from.
Nice. I love that. I'll say, the probably the best coffee experience I ever had was in Indonesia. It was, we were traveling through Bali and we had heard from my wife played volleyball there a few times and, we asked some friends there, like, where to go for coffee, if there was anything. They have a really unique coffee culture there too, and they all recommended this one shop. It was in the middle of a rice field, kind of like a little bit outside of the tourist area in Bali, and it's basically like a coffee stand. He I guess his family, like, owned this plot of land in between these rice fields, and he basically built a shack. And he has, like, a manual rock espresso machine, and he gets all of his beans locally, not the fanciest equipment. It's Indonesia, he doesn't have, a Malkinid grinder back there, but he knows what he's doing, and he knows how to use his equipment that he has, and like the story and everything, it was just so cool. And you're just like drinking coffee in a rice field. But for him to like methodically just use this manual espresso machine, like without like fancy equipment, and just make an incredible shot of espresso was it was really impressive. So that was really cool because it's very, very local and organic. And then I would say the other one in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has an incredible coffee culture, and it's Gusto's is probably like the bigger like brand name, but I'll say like it's a brand that I like because it's one of the few places that actually like owns the full supply from the ground to the cup. And I think that's really cool when like they're involved in the farming process, they're involved in, how they're processing it. And then they're also involved in like they're like machine distributors for this area with like some of the espresso machine companies. So that's pretty cool when you kind of see like, that lineage from, where it's coming from to the cup. I think that's always special. And then, having the same baristas and stuff when you come back here, like they remember you, and they're just so good. They're really talented, and they take it really seriously. So for me, it's like, yeah, when you have that story, it makes it nice. But when it's the same people, you can connect with them, and maybe you go back or you send someone there and they're happy. Like that's what it's all about.
So I can confirm that I'm not nearly as well traveled as all of you guys as it pertains to your coffee adventures. But what I can say is that I am probably very extraordinarily picky as it pertains to what we're gonna get. So anytime that we've gone somewhere, Jada, to your point, my wife did the whole TikTok, Instagram. She finds everything. Like I don't. If we're traveling somewhere, she's the one that's picking where we're going. I'm just getting us there, and because she's got good taste. However, if we go to a place and it sucks, we talk about it, and that place gets X'd right off the list. There was a spot in Asheville. I don't even remember the name of it, but I remember like on Instagram, it had, great reviews. It looked awesome. I walked in there and immediately I was like, this place is not going to be good. I know that this place is not going to be good. And it wasn't. It was not good at all. And I had no idea what they were doing with the actual coffee. With the coffee wasn't good. The experience wasn't good. And the one thing that, as it pertains to South Florida in general, I mentioned it, they don't have a good coffee culture, but it's also because South Florida is very hype based, is what I would say, right? So a new coffee place will come in, but like, this place is gonna be amazing. And then you go and you're like, no, it's not. It's objectively not good. Um, there was a spot that opened up in one of the neighborhoods in Coconut Grove recently called Navi. And I remember we had seen it on Instagram, and the guy who founded it was like a New York stockbroker for like the last 13 years. He was from South Florida originally. He was like, I'll be back right after college. And then he never came back until recently, when he had his first kid. And he was trying to mix like a northeastern bean. He basically said he wanted like a very like acidic, nutty, chocolatey bean. He basically, because he would go to like a local bodega before he went to the stock exchange and get a cup of coffee in the morning, and like that's what he wanted. And the best cup of coffee that I've had down here, aside from one that I've made myself, is at Navi. Which is great because he did a great job. He like picked the bean. The bean that he picked is from, I think, Allentown, Pennsylvania is where the roaster is. And that was like a very intentional process. Like he tried several different brands before he was able to kind of really like hit it on the head. This is what I want. And nailed it. And it's probably the most popular coffee shop down here right now. The line is miserable because nobody knew about it for the first like 2-3 months. And we were the only people in line, knew the owner, knew the baristas. And now we're waving at them from the back and they're starting our stuff before we get to the front so that we can have it fresh, ready to go. But then in Broward County, Wells Coffee, if you guys are ever in Fort Lauderdale, Wells is a micro roastery, which is awesome. It's like a small little cafe, and there's like two of them, I believe, in Fort Lauderdale, and each one roasts its own beans. So it's not like they have a central roasting location and it's going from store to store. They roast their own beans in that individual location, which is great, and they do a really good job with their coffee process. And then I know I talked about Pump House Coffee Roasters earlier up in West Palm Beach, but their brewing facility, their shop is called the Puratorium, and it's where they roast their coffee. It's where they bag their coffee. It's where they ship their coffee, and their coffee shop overlooks that entire facility, which is super cool. So you not only do you have, this beautiful teak, like very marine style coffee bar that you can sit at. They've got awesome food. And then that's also where I learned how to do the latte art. They literally just have a section of it called the lab. And in it, they have every espresso machine that you could think of. They've got gallons of milk laying around, like ready to go at any given moment's notice. That's where they do all of, like their testing for their new varietals and stuff like that too. So I would say those are kind of like my top in South Florida. Cause also, like I said, South Florida, it's very hype based. If it's good, it's genuinely good. And if it's not good, it'll still last because people live off the hype of it. So that's what I will tell you about South Florida coffee.
That's awesome, and this has been absolutely incredible. I've learned so much, and I feel like y'all should get together and, like, write a book on this stuff because I feel like we need it that way. There's so much more to the coffee culture than I think a lot of us, myself included, have realized that way. For people who wanna find out more about you online that way, where can they find y'all, at that way? You know, Instagram handles, TikTok handles, all that sort of thing.
Go back to front here. Dr. Murph DPT on Instagram. Don't follow me on Twitter. I don't do anything on there. Strictly Instagram for the most part.
I'm Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the things. And mine's at Jaeda_Sky.
I'm here for the name. That's it. I'm only on Instagram when I'm on Instagram, and it's just my name, Ashley Kowalewski. Best of luck finding that.
Nice. Mine's Crafted Athlete, CRFTD.athlete. And I have a coffee one too. I just never use it anymore. Crafted Cup, CRFTD.cup. So I'm gonna start posting more on there. But yeah, I throw some coffee on the story more than I do training stuff, honestly. But it's okay. We can post what we want, right?
Hell yeah, you can.
And mine's my name as well, which is Kyle_Sammons_.
Awesome. Link to all that in the description below. That way, if you didn't quite catch it, you can just click there and follow everyone and keep up to date with all their coffee and other pursuits online. This is amazing, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and for being here.
You're the best, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan.